Hi everybody. എൻ്റെ പേര് നിക്കിത വിൽസൺ എന്നാണ്. ഞാനൊരു ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ ട്രെയിനിയാണ്. And today I will be discussing about a topic called corporate social responsibility. It's very interesting. So let's get into the discussion. Okay. So let's get into the topic called as corporate social responsibility, commonly called as CSR. Now this comes under section 135 of the Companies Act of 2013. And it has to be read with its rules, which is the CSR Policy Amendment Rules of 2021. ഈ റൂൾസ് കുറെ മുമ്പ് അമെൻഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് in 2018, and the amendments that were made in 2019 and 20 were notified on 22nd of January 2021. അതായത് ഒരു 8 മാസം മുമ്പ്. Along with these rules, you also have to read Schedule 7. What is Schedule 7? Schedule 7 is a list of activities towards which a company can contribute their CSR funds. Alright. So first, before we start, we will look at an overview or a summary of what is corporate social responsibility. It is the responsibility of a corporate towards the society. Why should a corporate be responsible towards the society? ആദ്യമൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ കോമേഴ്സിൽ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് that a business was started to increase profits or to increase the wealth of the shareholders. Today, we don't say shareholders. We use this term called as stakeholders. Who is a stakeholder of a company? Its suppliers, consumers, investors, all the people involved with the company is called as its stakeholder. And a company is also called as a corporate citizen, which means it has to give back to the community in which it is operating. It has to develop the society, the economy, and the environment in which it is operating. In fact, India is one of the very few countries around the world who has made it mandatory, who has made it compulsory for eligible companies to follow this CSR. Is that good or bad? Maybe you can make a decision once this discussion is over. So now we'll be looking at some CSR provisions, its basics, and we'll focus on the amendments. The first question here is, if I am a company, when do I have to comply with CSR provisions? When am I eligible to follow CSR? This is given under subsection 1, which is the first thing we'll be looking at. Then we'll look at the how and the where. Okay. Subsection 1 says that any company which satisfies any one of the following three conditions in the immediately preceding financial year has to comply with CSR provisions. What is this? First thing, I said company. I did not say firm or sole proprietor, right? അതുകൊണ്ടാണല്ലോ Companies Act പഠിക്കുന്നത്. Here my question is, if I am a company and if I have a holding company or some subsidiary companies, if I am eligible to follow CSR under subsection 1, does that mean that my holding and subsidiary companies are automatically eligible? No. The Act is telling you have to look at each company on a standalone basis, separate to separate basis. If two companies have merged into one new company, or if a company has demerged, look at each company, that new company, on a separate basis. Okay? Now, I said during the immediately preceding financial year. What is my current financial year? 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2022. My immediately preceding financial year is 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. In this year, check if my net worth, in my preceding year, check if my net worth is equal to or more than 500 crore. Or was my turnover equal to or more than 1000 crore? Or was my net profit equal to or more than 5 crore? If any one of these conditions, net worth, turnover, or net profit, is satisfied, then I am eligible to follow CSR. Even a turnover is very straightforward. It's the sales of your company or revenue. What is net worth? It is nothing but your paid up share capital with your free reserves. But how to calculate net worth is given under section 2 subsection 57. Okay. Similarly, net profit is calculated according to section 198. If you study law, you would have studied section 197 and 198, which is how to compute net profit to calculate managerial remuneration. The same methodology is used over here. So I won't be going into the details of how to calculate it. Please go refer these two sections. Okay. Now, if I have become eligible, what is my next step? Two things. One, form a CSR committee. Second thing is, spend at least, that is a minimum of 2% of my average net profits of the preceding 3 financial years on CSR activities as per Schedule 7. Okay. Let's go slowly so that we don't get confused. Now, I said preceding 3 financial years. What are my 3 preceding financial years? 2018-19, 19-20, 2021. I will take the average net profits of this particular period, and 2% of that is the minimum amount I have to spend towards CSR. I can bring one small confusing question over here just so that we think. What if I started a company on 1st January 2018? In that case, will my financial year end on 31st March 2018 and then 2018, 19, 19, 20 is how I calculate? No. My first financial year has to be considered from 1st January 2018 to 31st March 2019. That is a period of 15 months. Then my second financial year is 2019-20, then 2021. I'll take the average net profits and calculate what is the minimum I have to spend. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, when am I not eligible to comply with CSR? If I do not satisfy all these three criteria for 3 years consecutively, that is year on year, then I do not have to comply with CSR provisions from the following year. So you have to check this eligibility criteria for each company every year. Okay. We look at the CSR committee. Who should form part of your CSR committee? My CSR committee should have minimum 3 directors, out of which one is an independent director. But, madam, certain companies don't require an independent director, like private companies under Section 149. What will they do? In such a case, they need to have only 2 directors. Okay. If I'm a foreign company, I need to appoint 2 people into my CSR committee, of which one is a resident of India. One is a resident of India. Okay. Now I'm eligible, I form my committee. And in the chain, what is my next step? What should this committee do? The committee will formulate the CSR policy according to Schedule 7 activities. Then they will calculate and recommend the amount that has to be spent towards CSR. What is the amount you should budget towards CSR? And they will monitor the CSR policy from time to time. So they will form the CSR policy, recommend the amount that has to be spent, give this recommendation to the board of directors. The board of directors is to go through it, approve it, and they will implement it. They will implement the CSR policy. Okay. I said something about CSR spend. How much to spend? That is minimum of 2% of average net profits of the preceding 3 financial years. We will look at this expenditure a little more in detail because there is an important amendment that came over here. Now, let's say, for example, in my company, I'm eligible to follow CSR from this year. You are the chartered accountant of my company. You have come, taken my books of accounts, calculated, and told me that, madam, this year you have to spend 10 lakhs towards CSR. Please look at case number 1. Okay, 10 lakhs is my budgeted amount. At the end of the year, that is 31st March 2022, I have actually spent only 8 lakhs. Okay, only 8 lakhs. This balance amount of 2 lakhs I did not spend is called as an unspent amount. What will I do with this? Now, if there is an unspent amount, before the amendment could come, the Act said if you just disclose this in the board's report, in your annual report, there is a section called as a board's or your director's report. If you just disclose it over there, that is enough. That this is my unspent amount. These are the reasons why I did not spend it. But after the amendment, you cannot just disclose. Then what is the additional things I have to do? Here the Act is telling, first, if you have an unspent amount, then first check if it is relating to an ongoing or not ongoing project. What is this ongoing project? For example, let us say I'm operating out of Ernakulam. I want to build a hospital in my district that is providing free health services to all the people in my area. Okay. Now, building a hospital is not a short term project. It might take more than a year, right? I will not spend one lump sum amount towards this project. I will spend many installments. Such a project is called as an ongoing project. It's a long term project. Okay. Now, if I have some unspent amount of 2 lakhs related to this construction of a hospital, then the Act is telling transfer this amount to an unspent CSR account that is maintained with a scheduled bank within 30 days from the end of the financial year and utilize that amount in that project over the next 3 financial years. And what is the idea here? So 2 lakhs is my unspent amount that I found out on 31st of March 2022, my year end. By 30th of April 2022, that is within 30 days, I have to transfer it to an escrow account in a bank called as an unspent CSR account. I have to transfer this amount over there. Okay. And I have to utilize this amount in that ongoing project in the future years. Okay. When I say utilize it in that project in the future years, if அடுத்த வருஷம், you being my chartered accountant, you again come and calculate and you tell me, okay, next year, that is 2022-23, you have to spend 15 lakhs towards CSR. But here, I already have an unspent amount of 2 lakhs. So totally, I have to spend 15 lakhs plus 2 lakhs towards my ongoing project. Okay. Now, another important thing to be mentioned over here is that because of this particular amendment, okay, let's just look at the accounting side of it. If within 30 days at the end of my financial year, I have to transfer it to a particular account, then there is a small liability attached to me, right? Do I have to create a provision for it? Yes, I have to. In my books of accounts, in my company's books of accounts, on 31st of March 2022, I have to create a provision for this amount of 2 lakhs, which I have to transfer to a separate account, a separate bank account. Okay. Now, what if it's not relating to an ongoing project? For example, I don't want to start a hospital. I want to conduct a vaccination camp, provide COVID-19 vaccinations free of cost to all the people in my panchayat or certain districts. Okay. Can I do that? Of course, I can do that. So I budgeted for 10 lakhs. I spent only 8 lakhs. My unspent amount is 2 lakhs. What will I do with this balance 2 lakhs? The Act is telling transfer it to a fund specified under Schedule 7 within 6 months from the end of the financial year. So 31st March 2022, Lani, if I'm calculating, then within 6 months, that is within 30th of September 2022, I have to transfer this to a specified fund. What is a specified fund? This is Schedule 7. You remember I told a list of activities towards which you can contribute your CSR funds. Here, if you see, there is eradicating hunger, poverty, promoting healthcare, Swachh Bharat Kosh, promoting education. Then, just mentioning quickly, Clean Ganga Fund is given over here. Okay, you can contribute to the military, for sports, Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, PM Cares Fund. This came newly last year only. Some individuals also contributed to the PM Cares Fund. No? And like that, contribution to IITs and other certain universities. These are many kind of activities towards which you can contribute. So some of these funds, for example, Clean Ganga Fund, PM Cares Fund, these are like some of the funds towards which you can contribute your unspent amount, not relating to an ongoing project. I hope this is very, very clear because this is an amendment. Okay. Now, what if, for example, that is in relation to unspent amount. What if I have spent in excess? Here, look at case 2. I was supposed to spend 10 lakhs, but I spent 14 lakhs, which means 4 lakhs in excess. Can I set off this 4 lakhs in the next financial year? Okay. Now, before the amendment, you cannot do any set off. But because of the amendment, now the Act is telling, yes, you can set off for the next 3 financial years. If I've spent extra 4 lakhs, and if let's say in the next year I have to spend 15 lakhs, like how I told you, you came and calculated and you told me 15 lakhs I have to spend, then the net amount, 11 lakhs, is what I have to spend in the next year. I hope this is very clear. Okay. Okay, so unspent amount, excess amount. What if there's a surplus? I was conducting vaccination camps. At the end of my camp, I have lot of vaccination doses which I haven't used. I have some medical equipment also which I haven't used. I have decided to sell this back to the government or sell it back to the hospital. And through that, I got some surplus. Is this my business profit? No, because I'm not doing this in the course of my business. Then what is the surplus? What do I do with the surplus? This surplus has to be utilized in my future CSR expenditure. If it's for an ongoing project, for that ongoing project. Utilize it in your future expenditure for CSR. Okay, I hope this is clear also. Now, I mentioned one small thing called as disclose. The directors, board of directors have to make certain disclosures. What is my CSR policy, etc. in 2 areas. Okay, one is the company's website. 2 is the annual report. Where in the annual report? The annual report is so huge. Where in the annual report? In this portion called as the director's report. Okay. So if you have been following the news lately, you will be aware of Sabu Jacob, Kitex Garments Limited. Okay, how he has spent some CSR amount towards the development of the Kirukambalam Panchayat. Let's go into his company's website and let's find out what are these contributions he has made. Where has he made it towards? Let's look at that. So Kitex Garments Limited in their website you have a column called CSR. I'm opening the CSR report for the previous year 2020-21. As you can see, it forms part of the director's report, which will be included in the annual report. He has given a brief outline of the company's CSR policy. Then, who and all forms part of the CSR committee? If you notice, there are certain independent directors also. In fact, two independent directors are there. How many meetings has the CSR committee held in that particular year? As you come down, you can also see what are the CSR projects towards which the company has contributed towards. There's a link that you can go to and access this. Now, please look at this, okay? Details of impact assessment. What is this impact assessment? We will look at shortly in the next few slides. Now, amount available for set off. If there's an amount available for set off, what does that mean? That he must have spent some excess in the previous year. Is there any amount like that? He is disclosed over here. What is the average net profit? 2%, which should be your CSR spend. What is your CSR obligation? Any surplus, etc. Any amount unspent is also mentioned over here. Then amount spent on ongoing projects, nil. There's nothing spent on ongoing projects. So everything then must be for ongoing, not ongoing projects. Not ongoing projects, healthcare, infrastructure development, agriculture, all for the Kirkamlam Panchayat only. The amount which is spent is given over here. Okay. And he has contributed to 2020 association, which means that he did not implement the CSR policy through Kitex Garments itself. We've also given the CSR number over here. So here you can ask a question. Does this mean a company has to execute the CSR policy by themselves, or can they do it through somebody else? Yes, you can do it through somebody else, but through who is what we will be seeing now. Okay. Please also look at this spent in administrative overheads and impact assessment. We'll be coming back to this again. All other details are given over here. Similarly, I will also show you the annual report of HDFC Bank Limited. Okay, this is a listed company. Both Kitex Garments and this is a listed company. You can look at any company for that matter. We are consumers of so many different companies, no? When we are consumers of so many different companies, we are technically the stakeholders of so many different companies. So we can also go and look at all of their annual reports, their website to see all these companies that we are stakeholders of, what are they doing for the society. Sometimes even directly or indirectly, they might be benefiting us also. Okay. So if you see HDFC's report for 2021, the same things have been given over here. What is the CSR policy? The committee, who forms part of the committee? Then list of activities they have contributed towards, impact assessment. If you come to the right side over here, you can look at the amount spent. Okay. What is the amount that has been spent? Towards what all projects? Mostly it is promoting education across India, in various districts across India. What is the project duration? Look at this. No, some of these are 2 years, 3 years, and all of that. If you see 2 years, all of these are ongoing projects. Okay. Then the amount he has to spend, through which and all agencies has he implemented his CSR policy, their registration numbers, everything is given. Okay. So please go look at some companies. It will be very exciting to see all of these things for us. All right. I'm coming to two things over here: administrative overheads and impact assessment. Remember, I told we'll come back to this. What is this? What is administrative overheads? Now, let us say I am implementing the CSR policy through my company itself. Okay. Then I would have taken some employees to implement the CSR policy. I will be paying some salaries for these employees. If they are working in an office, I'm paying rent for that office. All of these are my administrative overheads. Now the act is telling that out of the 10 lakhs that you have to spend, how much can you spend towards administrative overheads? Out of 10 lakhs, if I'm spending 7 lakhs towards administrative overheads, then what is your actual CSR activity spend? Correct. So here, the maximum amount you can spend, the limit on administrative overheads is 5% of your total CSR expenditure. If I'm spending 10 lakhs in this particular year, only 50,000 can be spent towards administrative overheads. Okay. Similarly, I came to this particular area called impact assessment. We saw this in that report. For certain companies, this is not required for all companies. For certain companies, if their CSR obligation, if their CSR expenditure of the preceding 3 years was on an average 10 crores or more, they need to get one agency, an independent agency, who will come and look at all the CSR activities they are contributing towards, what is the amount you have contributed, what is the impact it is having on the society, the benefits, and various other things they will check. Okay, this is called as an impact assessment. That agency will give it to you as a report, and you have to attach this report with your annual report. It's not required for all companies, only certain companies, like how I told you. Okay, and again, how much money, if suppose I have to pay some fees towards this independent agency, how much you can spend towards impact assessment is also limited according to the act. Okay, now, if you notice, there's one point over here, capital asset. Okay, what is this capital asset? You remember I told you I'm going to build a hospital in Ernakulam for all the people, providing free health services. Now, if I'm purchasing land or if I'm purchasing a building for that particular hospital, that is a capital asset. Can I recognize it in my books of accounts under PP? No. One, I am not going to get the benefits from that hospital. That is for the people. Two, I cannot keep the ownership of that asset with me. That ownership has to be transferred to the beneficiary. That is the NGO through whom I am working, or the panchayat. Okay. So that cannot be my asset because I do not own it. All right. We discussed what are some of the CSR activities. We saw Schedule 7. Now, what are not CSR activities? Let's look at this area because it's a little interesting. First point over here is any program undertaken outside India. So if I want to help some children in Africa by providing them lot of healthy food, that is not considered a CSR activity because I'm doing it outside India. Okay, point number one. Point number two is telling you that anything which is benefiting only employees and families. If you go to Munnar and Vagaman, you have Tata Tea Estates, acres and acres of estates. They provide housing shelters and some other facilities to their workers. Is that CSR? No, because what the act is telling. Now, for example, in that same panchayat, in that same area, if I'm building a school which will be used by all the students, by all the children in that particular area, and not just my employees' children, that will be considered as CSR. So I hope you've understood the difference over here. Now, now look at the next point. Any contribution made to a political party directly or indirectly is not a CSR activity. That is very straightforward. Next, activities in fulfillment of statutory obligations. What does this mean? Endanidhan. It's not confusing. Statutory obligations. Now, because of COVID-19, every company, every office has to do something under law. Their duty under law is to make sure that there is proper social distancing, that everything is sanitized, that the employees are using sanitizers, and health temperature check is there when you enter the office. Correct? Is this CSR? Suppose a company comes and tells you that I am providing free sanitizers to all the staff in my office. Is that CSR? No, because you have to do that under law. It is your duty to do that under law. That does not become a CSR activity. Next, if you see, any activity done in the course of business, even advertisement sponsorship is not CSR. For example, if you slightly remember when we saw Schedule 7 activities, we said that you can contribute to certain universities like IIT. Now, in IIT, students take up many research and development projects. Let us say that I am a tire manufacturing company and I go to IIT. There are some students who are trying to build an electric vehicle that will help to reduce the consumption of energy. We are working on some research in that area. I go to them and I tell them that I will give some funding for you all for your research. But when you all are building your electric vehicle, you have to use my tires, the tires that I am providing. Okay. Will that be CSR? No, that is sponsorship. You're giving your inventory to those children. Okay. That is not CSR. So there are some things over here that will help you differentiate what is a CSR activity and what is not an allowable CSR activity according to the Act. Okay. I hope this is clear. Before I come to the penalty part of it, I want to look at this place. Remember, we told that Kitex Garments Limited executed their CSR policy through the 2020 association. So I can do it through others. Who are these others? One, Act is telling you can collaborate with other companies. Two, you can go through a Section 8 company or a registered trust or a registered society established under the Act, established by the central or state government, or an act of the parliament or state legislature. That is a registered NGO. You can contribute or execute your policy through an NGO. Okay. Now over here, can I get an international NGO? Can I collaborate with an international NGO? United Nations is also operating in India. Okay. WHO is operating in India. Many other international NGOs are operating in India. Can I collaborate with them? The Act is telling yes, you can. Now understand the difference over here. I cannot conduct a CSR activity outside India, but I can conduct a CSR activity within India by taking the help of international NGOs. And whichever body, whichever NGO you are going to execute your CSR policy towards, this is again an amendment, has to be registered with the central government through Form CSR 1 with effect from 1st April 2021. Okay, this is an amendment. Just take note of this. All right. Coming to the last section, penalty. What if I do not satisfy, or what if I do not follow any one of these CSR provisions? I am eligible. Now CSR committee form cheyidilla. Or let's say I did not transfer my unspent amount to a bank account or to a specified fund. I did not make the necessary disclosures in my annual report. What is my penalty? Initially, this is again a very important amendment because initially there was no penalty. Okay, the government was not very strict about this. Then when the amendment came, first time this is what the penalty was. But when people saw imprisonment and all that, companies got scared. So they amended this again further, and this is the final penalty that a company has to pay, a fine of 1 crore or twice the amount that should have been transferred to an unspent CSR account. What is this? It's easy. You just understand. Twice the amount. What, in my example, what should I have transferred to the unspent account? 2 lakhs. Twice of that is 4 lakhs. Correct. So that or 1 crore, whichever is less, is my company, the fine that the company has to pay. 4 lakhs might seem as a very small amount because of the example I took, but in reality, it will be much higher. Okay. Similarly, every officer in default will also have to pay a fine of 2 lakhs or 1/10 of the amount which should be transferred to unspent CSR account, whichever is less. So this is also helping you understand that the government is taking this very seriously. Okay, all right. So we have looked at some of the basic provisions of CSR. What, why CSR, when should somebody follow the CSR provisions, where in the local areas, okay, with the help of an international NGO and all, if you remember, we had that discussion, how to go about it, okay, and we looked at some amendments. Now, it is a nice thing to look at all of these provisions, but more than that, to help you understand these provisions more, to help you understand these sections and subsections, please understand what is the intention of the act by coming up with all of these rules. Okay, the ultimate idea is to make sure that a corporate is responsible towards the society. It is helping to build up that particular society, right? And as responsible consumers, as a stakeholder of a company, we are purchasing goods and services of so many companies. We are their stakeholders, right? So we also need to know whether these companies are actually helping to develop the society in which we are living. That is the idea behind this particular law. So I hope you read these sections in that particular context. For example, okay, just a very quick example. Many years back in Gujarat, the Coca-Cola factory was set up. Okay, it helped increase the employment of some people in that region. But all the farmers were against it. You know why? Because to produce that soft drink, they had to take up water from all the neighboring agricultural lands. All these farmers were affected. Examples like this, is it good for the society? Was that company responsible towards the society? Not really, right? So, this will help us understand the corporate better. All right. I hope I have given you all a good overview. I hope you all are clear about at least the basic provisions. If you all have any further doubts, if you all have anything to be clarified, or if you have any interesting points you would like to share with me, please email me in this email ID that I've attached over here. Thank you very much for your time. Again, thank you very, very much to Sikasa Poricode for giving us this opportunity. I hope this was clear. Thank you very much.